Hey guys, welcome back to Sparkman Homestead. My name is Krista. I am super excited today to finally be canning my barbecue sauce. I have talked about it in a couple of my other videos that I make this barbecue sauce that is very similar to a Sweet Baby Ray's. It's like a super sweet, kind of more commercialized barbecue sauce, but it tastes amazing. So I'm going to get that canned up today. I'm also going to show you guys how I make one of my favorite meals, which is Sloppy Joe's. It's not so much Steven's favorite. I think he said that I had made it too much and he was sick of it. So I tend to make it when he is away, and because he is away this week, it is definitely on the menu. So we are going to make that. So I also thought that it would be really cool to make some cornbread. I have this cornmeal that I ordered from Azure Standard, and I want to attempt to make like a Jiffy mix. So what I'm going to do with you guys today is we are going to make a small batch of it, and we're going to taste and see how I like it. If it's something that I like and that I think I would definitely use in the future, then what we're going to do is we're going to make a large batch of it. There is a lot of YouTube videos out there on how to make it. It's just a Jiffy mix. And you can make it in bulk and then store it in like these gallon jugs, and then gallon jars, and then whenever you need it, you just take out what you need. This is not my recipe. I got this on YouTube. I kind of watched a collaboration of about 4 or 5 different DIY Jiffy mixes, and I kind of just meshed them together to make my own. Before I get started on my barbecue sauce, I definitely need to put my apron on because I don't want to be covered in it. And I need to actually get my sourdough starter fed. I want to make a loaf tonight and ferment it overnight and then make a loaf in the morning. So I'm gonna get this guy fed, heated my coffee up, really hot, very hot, almost maybe too hot. Ouch, burnt my tongue. I just put a little cream in my coffee and that is it. I actually need to go pick up some more cream tomorrow. It's on my list. It's on my to-do list for tomorrow. I need to get rid of some of this, just put some discard in here. With this discard, sometimes I make like pancakes, or recently I started making crackers with it. So good. They're like a cheese cracker. I'll have to make it with you guys. It is delicious. And also, I don't know, I have an Instagram page, and I did share on my Instagram page about this, but last week I was attempting to make a loaf of sourdough bread, and I fed my starter, and we were having a cold day, so the house was really cold. I usually keep my house at like 67. It's not optimal for fermenting stuff. So I thought, I'm gonna heat it up a bit. Let me put it in my oven, turn the light on in my oven, and then I forgot that I had put it in my oven because it was in my oven and I was busy doing other stuff. And then supper time came around and I turned my oven on 350 to preheat. And it wasn't until I smelt, because I put rubber bands on it, it wasn't until I smelt the rubber bands burning that I realized my starter was in the oven. So I quickly grabbed it out, and it had completely like rose into the top. It was now starting to actually like make bread. So it was pretty much done. There was a tiny, like I would say less than a tablespoon left of the starter. So I took that starter out and quickly fed it, and I put it on my stove, and I just kind of kept feeding it. And then thankfully the next day I woke up and it was still alive. But I have since learned that always have a backup starter. If not a backup starter, then at least take some discard and put it in your fridge until you make that bread, so you know for sure that you have not killed your starter. I was panicking because I'm like, I don't want to grow another starter. So I'm just going to put this in the fridge because I'm not planning on making anything with it today. I've gotten to the point with my starter where I actually don't really weigh it to feed it. I do weigh it when I am making bread. I definitely get the scale out to do that. But when I am just feeding it, I kind of just go by sight. This is a big tablespoon. I usually just take a couple tablespoons and pour it in, and then pour a little bit of water in and stir it until it gets to the consistency that I like. And it's worked for me for a while. When I first started with this starter, I would feed it 50 grams of flour and 50 grams of water, and that worked perfect for it. But now I just kind of eyeball it to get it to where it likes to be. My starter likes to kind of be fed more flour versus water. It's a more thicker starter. I've seen people's starters that it's like they're really, really runny, but when I have my starter like that, it does not make very good bread. So my starter likes more flour than water, and it's a thicker starter, and it works perfect for me. This is kind of, I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of the consistency. It's like a thick pancake batter. It's the best way I can describe it. And I put a rubber band on the bottom so I can kind of see how much it's grown. Hoping it will grow pretty good today because we are doing canning. So the kitchen should be pretty warm today with our canning activities. Okay, that project is done. Yay. Let's get started with the canning. We're gonna get started on the Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. I have been canning this recipe for a couple of years now. I just want to preference, before I even start canning this, that this is not a USDA approved recipe. The reason why it is not is because it has cornstarch in it. So I just want to preference that ahead of time, that this is not an approved recipe. This is a recipe that I trust because I have made it for a couple of years and it works for me. So just keep that in mind. Do your research. Do what you feel comfortable in your own kitchen doing. So that's out of the way. Let's get started canning. I actually have to go over and grab some ketchup out of my pantry. So let's go into the pantry. This is my back room, and this is kind of where I keep my canning stuff. I have this shelf, and then I have another whole shelf over here full of all my canned stuff. Eventually I will do a pantry tour. I don't know when. So what I am doing is I'm just kind of looking at my ketchup expiry dates. It calls for 5 1/3 cup of ketchup. So I think I'm going to use my stuff that I made last year to get that used up. We will bring in, usually one jar has about 2 cups in it, a cup and a bit. So 2, 4, 6. We will bring in 3 jars. Okay. Oh, I also need to go into the garage and get a bottle of hot sauce because I know I don't have enough hot sauce left in the fridge. All right, we need to get this water heated up, and I'm gonna get my jars in here so they can start heating up with my water. Because we are water bath canning this, it is a hot sauce. I need my jars hot, and I need the water to be hot to start with. Let's just make sure we have all of our ingredients out. This is another thing that I do when I am kind of canning, or just in general, like when I'm making any type of recipe. I always make sure all my ingredients are out before I start it. That way I know, number 1, that I have everything, and number 2, it makes it for quick, easy assembling of the recipe. So it says to mix all the ingredients in a stock pot and bring to a boil. Reduce heat and simmer until thickened. I can't remember how long this takes to thicken, but this is one that I made last year, and I don't know if you can kind of see the consistency of it. It's a little runny. I would potentially like to see if I can thicken it up a little bit more this year, but this definitely worked. It served its purpose. It is delicious on like a meatloaf or on chicken. We absolutely love this barbecue sauce. My daughter actually made a pizza one time. We do a lot of homemade pizzas here, and she actually made a chicken barbecue pizza, and she used this on it instead of a pizza sauce, and it was really, really yummy. This is a kind of family favorite recipe that I do for the barbecue sauce. I think we only have like 3 jars left in the pantry, and I know we're getting into winter, but we put barbecue sauce on a lot of stuff. Get all of the ingredients in here. I wanted to grab a spatula. Makes things easier. See, this is why I wear an apron. I just sprayed ketchup everywhere. I think I am like by far the messiest baker and cooker. I really need to get one of those jar openers. This is all I use to open my canning jars. It works, it serves a purpose, but I know they have those really cool vintage ones that are made for opening canning jars. Okay, so 5, this is just a 1 cup serving. So we need 5, 1/3 cup. There. We need to go and grab another jar. 5 cups. Now, because I am using homemade ketchup, my ketchup is a little bit more runnier, so this sauce actually might end up being more runnier than normal, just because my ketchup isn't super thick. So we need 1/3 cup. We have a little bit of ketchup left over. I'm going to put it in the fridge. 2 cups of brown sugar. And I do not have written down whether it is packed brown sugar, so I'm just going to give it like a light little packing it in. Now it is a barbecue sauce, and we do like our barbecue sauce a little bit more. We like the sweet vinegary barbecue sauce. I'm just going to give it a patting. Okay. 1 cup of molasses. Now we need 3 cups of pineapple juice, or it says 24 fluid ounce. So I'm going to measure this out because this is 46 ounces. So we'll just measure it out. Just want to wipe down the top first before I open it. I don't know where the jars have been. I don't want to pour my stuff out and have nasty stuff. So 3 cups of this. 1/2 cup of Worcestershire sauce. I'm just shaking my vinegar up because this is a apple cider vinegar with the mother, and all the mother gets kind of concentrated at the bottom, and I want that in my stuff because that is healthy stuff. So give it a little mix, and we need 1/2 cup of apple cider vinegar. Next up is dry mustard or ground mustard. They're the same thing. So we are going to use a 1/4 cup. Then it is a 1/4 cup of smoked paprika. Doesn't fit in there. I really love these old vintage 1/2 gallon, but the tops are so skinny, and like this is a 1/4 cup, and I can't reach it in to do that, so I'm just gonna do it this way. All right. Oops, that's a big, huge clump. Okay, we'll put some of this back. It's gonna be extra smoky. Okay, and then we need, here's the controversy of the recipe. We need 8 teaspoons of cornstarch, and it does specify that it needs to be sifted. I've just got a little hand, I don't know what it is. 4 teaspoons of garlic powder. 4 teaspoons of salt. 2 teaspoons of black pepper. 2 teaspoons of onion powder, and then we need 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. This is not really a spicy barbecue sauce. And then we need, well, I guess maybe a little bit because we were having hot sauce. We need 4 teaspoons of hot sauce. So I save my, I don't buy them anymore, but I saved my hot sauce bottles, and then that's what I put my hot sauce in now when I make it. But I don't like this lid. I think when I wash this, I'm just gonna swap out because I like this style lid better with like you can control it. This one is just open throttle and you might get too much hot sauce. So I think I'm gonna switch it out when I wash this. Let's give this a stir. And then we are going to get this, you know what, I think I'm gonna whisk this. So we're going to get this on, and we are gonna bring it up to a boil. Okay, we are really starting to get a good boil here. I'm just gonna give it a quick stir because I don't want it to burn on the bottom. Okay, so we got it to a nice boil. So now we are going to put it down in temperature, and then we're just gonna simmer it now, stirring it every once in a while, just until it gets to our desired thickness. It's pretty watery right now, and I think it will thicken up when it cools, but it's still a little bit too liquidy for my liking. And again, I think it's because we used my homemade ketchup that actually caused it to be a little bit more runnier than had I used like a commercial brand ketchup. I really hope you guys give this recipe a try because we absolutely love it and it is so good. Barbecue sauces for us have been like hit or miss. The ones that I find in the canning books are all very like tomato heavy. Like it almost just tastes like a very sugary tomato sauce. And that's not what we really like for our barbecue sauces. We really like that, like I said, sweet, smoky vinegar taste. So this is at a nice simmer. Smoky, but I'm trying to bring it down a little bit more. This burner is very aggressive. I have decided against making a small batch of this Jiffy. I've decided to just jump right in and make the whole bulk version. I don't have an individual recipe just to do one serving, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna just make it and hope for the best. I'm pretty sure it'll turn out good. Like all of the reviews on YouTube, every single person said that it is delicious and it tastes exactly like the boxed Jiffy mix. So my only concern that I have is this is the cornmeal that I purchased from Azure. All of the YouTube tutorials that I've seen, they are using like just a bag of extra fine cornmeal. Now this is from Azure and I don't know if you can see it, but it is not extra fine. And I don't want to compromise the recipe and end up using a way too thick of a cornmeal in it. So what I'm going to do, it calls for 4.5 cups of cornmeal, extra fine. So I got my little coffee grinder out and I am going to give this a little pulse in it to see if I can break it up a little bit more and make it, I mean, it is still very, very fine, but there are still some chunks of corn in it. So I'm just gonna give it a quick pulse in this and then add it to my recipe. That way I can ensure that I'm kind of matching the recipe because I don't wanna use something different and then completely alter the way the recipe turns out. And then I think that, you know, we failed. And meanwhile, it was just that this wasn't ground up enough. So let's get grinding that. So we need 4.5 cups of that. I remember that I had my Vitamix, however you say it, and it would have taken me forever to do all of that. This is 4.5 cups. So I just pulsed it through that for a couple of seconds, and now we have extra fine. So that's perfect. So now we need to add 6 cups of flour. I don't think I have 6 cups in here. I need to go and grab my bulk storage. This doesn't hold a lot. Let's just get this one filled up while we have the bucket out. also realized that this is not going to be a big enough bowl, so I'm just gonna put it all in this bowl. Okay, so we have 6 cups of flour in here, and now we are going to add the 4.5 cups of this cornmeal. We are gonna add 1 3/4 cup of sugar. We need 1/2 cup of baking powder. And we need 1 tablespoon of salt. So now it says to stir it all together and then add it to an airtight container to store. So we're gonna stir it all together, and then we're actually going to make some, what should we make? Muffins or bread with it? I'm making sloppy joes for supper, so I think we'll do it in the cast iron. So we'll make like a bread with it. So we need to get that oven actually preheated at 400, and we need to get the cast iron in it. Let's get our oven preheated to 400 degrees. Okay, we'll put the cast iron in there so that it can preheat with that oven so that we can put the stuff into the hot cast iron. I don't know what size jar this is gonna fit in. I feel like this is way too much for a 1/2 gallon, but I guess we'll attempt to put it into a 1/2 gallon. Let me go and grab one. I was proactive and grabbed a gallon jar just in case. I keep my jars upstairs in my attic. I have a canning shelf that I keep them all on, so I have to walk up and down the stairs. Being proactive paid off. It is definitely not going to fit in here because I haven't even gotten halfway through that bowl yet, so we'll put it in here. It may not even fit all in this gallon jar. Gosh. I am actually going to put a oxygen absorber in here because this is a lot of mix and I don't know how much cornbread we'll actually eat. So this is what that recipe made. This is a gallon size jar, so it makes a lot. So we're gonna make up a batch right now. I'm just gonna reuse this bowl because there's no need to dirty another bowl. I actually just want to give this a quick stir before I get started making that cornbread. It is still not thick enough. I want to taste of it. It's good. It's very sweet though. That's okay. I'm putting it with meat, so it'll be fine. Okay, so 1.5 cups of this mix. I'm super excited to try this. I wanted to make fried green tomatoes with that cornmeal, but I never got an opportunity to because my tomatoes started turning red too fast, which is fine. That will be something we'll do next year. But I am super excited to make this. I have been craving cornbread for a while, and I haven't been able, oh, that's our oven, it's preheated. I haven't been able to eat it for the longest time because I don't think this lid goes with this. Not the right lid for this one. Oh well. So I haven't been able to eat it for a very long time because I haven't found an organic cornmeal that I really liked. So this is an experiment with this. But yes, this is an all organic Jiffy mix. Like that's amazing to me that we can make that. So I'm super excited to try it. So we've got 1.5 cups of that mix in there. And now we are going to add 1 egg. And this is just my raw milk I get from the Amish. I just had to mix it up a bit because the cream was all at the top. We're gonna add 1/3 milk. And now it says to whisk it together. It has been so long since I made cornbread and I can't remember if it's supposed to be like, is cornbread supposed to be thick or like runny? Because this is super, like that is not going to fill that cast iron. I am going to double this recipe because this is not And I think I need to add more milk to it also. I feel like this is something maybe I shouldn't have on the video, but it's a learning experience. We're gonna learn together. Plus, if I show you guys how to make this mix, I want to kind of show you guys how to use the mix. It's not, because if this mix isn't the right ratio and what I have, or what I tell you guys to mix with it, and it doesn't end up turning out. So we decided to double it because I have that 9-inch cast iron, and I knew that amount of batter was going to be, it wasn't going to fit in there. So let's get another egg. You know, the videos that I watched too, it was not a thick batter. So I am leaning more towards, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to add more liquid. I'm leaning towards, instead of 1/3 cup liquid, I'm thinking that it has to be 1/2, because that's just not enough. So we're gonna add another, again, because we're doubling it, we're gonna add another 1/4 cup of liquid. That is looking more like it. So I'm gonna change my recipe then and put 1/2. Hope it's a little bit better of a view, but this is what the consistency is like on it. That is more what I was seeing in the videos. So we need to get that hot cast iron out, and we need to actually get some butter into the bottom. We're gonna add about, I would say maybe a couple tablespoons of butter to the bottom of that cast iron. Okay, we have our very hot cast iron here, and we are just gonna add a couple tablespoons of butter to the bottom of this pan. Just melt it in there. Everything that I've seen online says that we need to bake this for about 30 minutes. We'll set the timer for 30 minutes. And I'm going to show you guys what this sauce looks like. So this is what it looks like. It's still really thin, but I am hoping that by it being hot, it's thinner than it would be. I don't know. I think I'm gonna give it like maybe another half an hour while that cornbread cooks, and just let it kind of simmer for a little bit longer. I just took a label and I wrote down the directions on it. That way when I am making cornbread or muffins, I already have the directions on the actual jar. So there we go. We have a homemade Jiffy mix, which smells amazing right now. And I actually did taste it a little bit, even though it had raw egg. I tasted a tiny little bit, and it does taste really, really good. So hoping it turns out. I have forgotten about this huge bowl of jalapenos that are in the garage fridge, and look what's starting to happen to them. They're starting to go bad. So we need to get these processed. I noticed that when I was doing my freezer clean out, I'll link the video to that on here, but I noticed that when I was doing my freezer clean out that I don't have any frozen jalapenos, and I did want to put some in the freezer this year because they are excellent to add to chilies. Instead of adding the pickled stuff, you can just take some frozen jalapenos and add them to a chili, and they're just good to have on hand. I might give some to the chickens because some of them are really like wrinkled up. I was going to make some poppers with them, but again, doing that freezer clean out, I realized that I do have quite a bit of poppers in there, so I don't think I need to make any more. And if I do need to make some, I don't need to make very much of them. So I thought, why don't we get these chopped up and put into the freezer? I have gloves on also because I'm not into having burnt hands. Oh, I wanted to let you guys know. So I tasted that barbecue sauce again, and it is sweet, but there was like a little bit of like, there was a taste I couldn't identify in it, and then I realized it's the hot sauce. So that barbecue sauce is like a sweet and spicy kind of barbecue sauce, which is nice. The hot sauce doesn't hit you until the end. At first you think it's sweet, but then there's a little bit of heat that comes in at the end. So it'll be perfect for adding to meat and meatloaves and... Ooh, it would be probably good to make like a barbecue meatball. Like making some meatballs and then putting some like barbecue sauce in there and then putting them in like a casserole dish and putting them in the oven. That would be yummy. And then serving that on top of like some pasta or rice. Ooh. Some of the bigger ones I'm cutting in half, I'm gonna scoop out, and these ones I'm gonna make poppers with. So I'm just kind of picking through them and putting any bad things into the chicken bowl. And then just cutting the larger ones. And then we'll make a little tiny batch of poppers. Okay, I can really smell that cornbread and I want to check it. It says it's almost done. Oh yeah, that's done. That is done. There it is. We'll let that cool. So the barbecue sauce is nice and thick. It's definitely reduced a lot. So we are gonna can it up. I'm thinking that this is probably only gonna make about 4 jars maybe. I should have doubled the recipe, but that's okay. So let's get these hot jars out of here. I'm thinking we're probably only gonna need 4 of them. The other ones we'll just leave out. I am going to probably get a ladle to ladle these in. We are giving it 1/2 inch of headspace. If this is your first time watching me can, I'm messy. I'm very, very messy. I say I can like a toddler because I make a mess. Little tiny bit left. I'm just gonna let it cool down a bit and then just put it into the fridge. But we did get 4 pint-sized jars. Now I guess you could maybe make this USDA safe by leaving out the arrowroot and then just, or the arrowroot or cornstarch, and then just maybe when you're going to cook it, then thicken it. I have not tried it, so I don't know if it would work, but I guess you could try to do that to omit the cornstarch. 4 pint jars in here. I'm going to turn the heat back up a little bit. Once it comes to a full rolling boil, then we are going to set our timer for 20 minutes. I really want to taste this bread. It looks delicious. I think we are at a full rolling boil, so we will set the timer for 20 minutes. Let it can away. Okay, the timer just went off, so we are going to turn the heat off. We are going to take the lid off. I'm going to take it off that burner, and I am going to set the timer for 5 minutes, and we'll let them kind of chill out in there for 5 minutes. Since I have this canner with water in it, and I have some tomatillos in my fridge that are going bad, and I also have those jalapeños that we cut up, I am going to make a quick batch of tomatillo jalapeno hot sauce. This recipe is from Becky over at Acre Homestead, and if I can find the video, I will link it. I'm just gonna quickly get this done and then can it up. This is by far our favorite hot sauce. The tomatillos really make it mild, but then the jalapenos give it that extra kick. We literally put this stuff on absolutely everything. So since I canned it, we've already gone, I think, through like 3 jars of it. So we eat it like really quickly. So I want to get another batch before those tomatillos go bad. And since we just cut up those jalapenos, it is 2 o'clock now. I've not had any lunch yet. So I am going to try some of this cornbread. Let's see. It is definitely really cooled. Probably should have tried it when it was hot. I might have to reheat it for supper tonight because I'm just gonna put my sloppy joes over top of it. Oh yeah, it just pops right out of here. That's what the bottom looked like. See if I can get it up and show you guys. It smells good. Yeah, that's how the bottom turned out. It's not burnt. The camera probably makes it look a little burnt. I'm gonna put a little bit of butter on it. Looks a little dry, but I think cornbread kind of is like that. I don't know. Tastes good. Definitely like it. I'm glad we made that huge gallon-sized jar. I think what I'm going to do, because it is a little dry, is I am definitely going to maybe add 2 eggs to it, because those eggs were pretty small. So I think maybe adding 2 eggs might help with that a bit. And also not maybe cooking it as long, because it says 20 to 30 minutes and I veered on the 30 side, so definitely 20 minutes would be fine with that. So I'll just make modification. I'll make little notes on that gallon size jar about it. But yeah, it's definitely good. Just looking at my starter, I don't know if you can see, but it's now starting to fall. So it rose all the way up to here and now it's starting to fall. So I need to get the bread started. All right, so the hot sauce is out of the canner now. So they're just gonna cool there for the next 12 to 24 hours. Time to get supper started. I'm gonna get a pound of beef browning up. Just making sure the burner's on. That's why I always lift my pan. I'm always checking my burner. Okay, so we need to put in 1 tablespoon of butter into here. This is definitely more than a tablespoon, but who didn't love butter? And then we are going to, oh, we also need oil in here. We also need a teaspoon of oil. Melted. We're gonna add the beef and we're gonna brown it up. I do have one of those meat separator things, but I don't want to get it out. I already got the spoon dirty. Just breaking all the meat up. Okay. That cooking, while that is cooking, I am going to chop up a very, very small green pepper. All right, this meat is looking very brown. We are just going to bring it over here. I have a strainer colander in the sink here, and we're just gonna put this in the colander and drain it. Meat is in the colander, so now we need to add onions. It does call for yellow onion, but because I had that onion go bad, we're gonna use red. Fine, I'm gonna add a little bit more oil too, and we're gonna add the peppers also in here. And we're just gonna saute these for about 5 minutes. We just wanna soften them up. Did I mention what we're making? We're making sloppy joes. I think I forgot to mention that. I'm just gonna turn my burner down a bit because this pan is getting hot and I don't wanna burn these. I just want to soften them. We are going to add 3 cloves of garlic, but I'm just going to use probably like, I don't know, maybe a teaspoon. And then we're going to cook this for 30 seconds because we don't want to burn the, spilling it everywhere. We don't want to burn the garlic. We just want to get it to get fragrant. And then we are gonna add the ground beef back to this. Okay, we'll add the ground beef back. now we are going to add a tablespoon of tomato paste. I have some in here. Just gonna stir it in here, get it all incorporated. What is it? Sorry, my recipe's over here, guys. I don't want to have my back to you guys. We're gonna add 1/3 of water, and we're gonna add 2/3 of ketchup. But I actually always add way more ketchup because this recipe lacks in it. So this is about a cup of ketchup. This is just that homemade stuff you have left over from when we made the barbecue sauce this morning. We are gonna add a tablespoon of brown sugar. We are going to add a teaspoon of yellow mustard. Again, this is something that I actually add a little bit more of. We are going to add 1/2 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce. I'm kind of just not really measuring. And then we are going to add 3 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder. I'm just going to add a teaspoon. And then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. A full teaspoon. 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. And it says 1/4 teaspoon of red chili flakes. Let's give this a stir and get it all incorporated. So it says to cover and leave on medium-high heat and leave it for 10 to 15 minutes. You pretty much just want this sauce to get concentrated and boil down a bit, just to let the flavors all have a party together. Okay, I'm gonna just turn it down a little bit. This is my little hack that I have for tomato paste. You buy those jars of tomato paste, and like this recipe is a prime example. It calls for only a tablespoon. There's definitely way more than a tablespoon in those jars, and I do not like to waste it. So what I do is I put it in a tiny little freezer bag. I just smush it down so that it's flat, and then I freeze it. And then whenever I need tomato paste, like in this recipe, I needed a tablespoon. So I took it out about 10 minutes ago or 15 minutes and just let it defrost on the counter. And then that way I'm not wasting tomato paste, because it's just, I don't like to be wasteful. I don't like to not use everything, and I don't know. I like to save money, so this is a good way to do it. Checking on it, and it is looking like it is done. This is a good consistency. This is how I like it. I want a little bit of sauce because that bread is it's a little drier than I'd like. So that is done. I actually have to go into town quickly to go and run a quick errand. So I am going to take it off of the burner, and then I'm going to plate it up when I get home. Now, I just want to mention also on here, it does say that this mixture, glasses help. It says mixture can be frozen. Cool mixture completely and then add freezer to containers and freeze up to 4 months. Thaw overnight in the fridge and reheat before serving. So this is a perfect freezer meal, and it does taste delicious. So I am gonna, like I said, go and run that quick errand. I will heat this up when I get home, and I'll come back and show you guys what my plate looks like. I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you on the next video. Bye, guys. There is the finished product. So I have, I'm trying to do this without causing it to distort. So I have my cornbread right here. I just scooped some sloppy joe mix on it, and then that is some canned green beans. Super yummy.